Hello, everybody. My name is Rafael Chiuzzi. I'm an organizational psychologist and also an assistant professor of organizational behavior at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. So, first and foremost, if you're watching this video, I truly hope that you and your family are well and safe. Also, I would like to remind you that this video is a result of a reflection, and hence it's filtered by my own biases and values. So please, take whatever resonates with you, and throw away um, the rest. So I was asked to record this video to communicate some of my perceptions about the whole home office and the new work arrangements after this the COVID-19 pandemic. Um, and the whole topic about home office and how people are adapting to work really intrigues me as an organizational psychologist. So, as a professional who explicitly thinks about humans and work interfaces, and also talking online with many of my friends, many of my colleagues, reading a lot of stuff, I have synthesized some of the topics that I would like to share with you right now. And I believe we must begin by revisiting a fundamental question this time, which is, what is work? So, what does it represent in our lives? And work is this beautiful activity made to transform objects and reality to produce services, products, and values. So this characteristic, this thing we call now work, is characterized by uh, several conditions. So we have physical conditions, economic, social, psychological, cultural, and technological conditions. So the massive impact of now the COVID-19 pandemic is that this tiny virus has fundamentally impacted most of them. And we are still adapting. So this video is a good example of this. So most people are concerned with what home office looks like, what are the tips, and I believe the true anguish right now for most of us is, what is work now? What work looks like now. Um, you know, I have my wife and my kids running around, so how is the new work setting for many of you? So for many, work has shifted from that place where you go outside and it was brought home, both physically and mentally. And that is the real challenge. Um, Thinking uh, how is this going to impact my family and my performance? So to answer to the question of what work will look like, we have to think about the whys of work, and they are intimately tied to human needs that are spoken to. So work will eventually respond to three basic human needs. One of them is the survival, and that's the economic function of work. So I need money to buy my stuff, to do whatever I like, buy my house, buy clothing, etc., etc. The other one is the realization needs, and that's the psychological function. This is where myself as a human being show to the world, to the society, that I'm productive, that I can do things that are creative and generate some sort of function. Um, and finally, a collaboration need. So that's the social function of work. The last one, I believe, was the most affected by self-isolation, and it's a clear depiction of how important social work-related activities in our lives are, and we tend to forget that. So when we bring work to in full to our household, um, the balance that we used to have, it's now deeply affected. It will modify, the functioning of this family. So let's take a family where both husband and wife are working from home. Let's assume they have kids, and I believe this is the case with many Ontarians, many Canadians, and many families around the globe, really. Um, so it is impossible to assume that You will be fully dedicated to work from 9 to 5 because uh, it's required of these people, the husband and wife, time to take care of their children, for example. And I don't mean just, preparing meals and cleaning them, giving them baths and so on and so forth. I mean really spending time with them doing parental activities. We cannot just simply, get rid of this job of being parents. It's just not that simple. And I saw online, among many things on the internet, several people advising parents to create an office space and letting children know that mommy, daddy are working here, so you cannot disturb them at this space at this time. And considering the full work routine, I believe this is a mistake for so many reasons. The main one being, you're assuming that young kids would completely understand this social distinction in a rational manner, mm, which they don't do because you're there physically. And even if they do, that is not going to change, how they feel about mommy or daddy, ignoring them because of work. So, in real world, the 9 to 5 has to be revisited as well. It's just unrealistic and borderline sadistic, if you ask me, to require of them, the same arrangement as they used to have from 9 to 5, because they just don't have all the social support like a daycare, like the school system functioning. Um, So I would take, even though there is some merit in those advices, um, I would take all those bits of advice with a grain of salt. I truly believe that you have to come up with a home office arrangement that respects your family dynamics. And you are the only person who can actually do that. So, understanding what are the elements that keep your home in harmony, those are critical issues when it comes to thinking about home office. So my home office recipe, it's less about the space and more about the time. So space-wise, it could be everywhere, really. Right now I'm in my basement because my kids are asleep. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. But during the day, it could be in the kitchen, it could be in the couch, it could be on my living room table. That really depends on what is happening. And if, for example, my wife needs more time than I do, so you see, there is a balance, and you have to read the air not to break that balance. Um, so imposing a strict, 9 to 5, and this is my home office, uh, I don't believe this is a realistic expectation. So what I do, for example, when I'm involved in a task that demands extreme attention to detail or concentration, or if you have to be on a call, then I agree. Then this is what we do. My wife and I, we reach an agreement about how much time and space when will be both confined. Um, but realistically, you cannot expect a full 9 to 5 work schedule. Business as usual. It just doesn't happen. So if needed, in sometimes I can put on my noise cancellation headphones. Instead of being mad at my children for being loud while they play. You got to remember it's not their fault, and it's only unfair to make them pay this price at this point, and even you as a worker. So my go-to advice right now is manage yourself first. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your family dynamic. And once you have this self-awareness, it's easier to manage the workload. It's easier to manage the family demands. And I'm seeing many people keeping, for example, their exercise routine to keep healthy. That's great. This is awesome. I suggest you do the same with your mental health. Practice every day, stay fit mentally. I think it's important for people to realize and understand that our lives have changed, and they will keep changing drastically. And all of those changes will necessarily be, in my opinion, be permeated by the discussion of what makes us human, what work really means in our lives. So, as a general reminder, be kind to each other and think about the greater good. I believe that altruism will help us through this whole situation. Um, and to wrap this up, I wish you all much serenity and wisdom to deal with this unprecedented, challenging um, situation. So that was my 2 cents for this thing. Okay, take care and be well.